Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ahsan Ali, and I am about to give this talk on this is a guidance session on applying to PhD programs in the US and the UK on behalf of math volunteers. Let's begin this session. So the first thing that we will talk about is IELTS because both the US and the UK are English speaking countries, so you have to be able to demonstrate that you are proficient in English. So I mean, you can either do a test in TOEFL or IELTS. I gave the IELTS test, and which is why I know most about it, and I will try to explain that to you. Again, the proof of English proficiency is mandatory. Like you have to give either IELTS or TOEFL, or in rare cases, if they accept Duolingo scores, even that is okay. I would highly recommend like to give this test over holidays, meaning like when you have free time, because it is expensive and you don't want to give this again and again. If you are applying for the UK along with the US, there is a special category called UKVI Academic IELTS. I highly recommend you opt for this option because this is definitely like necessary for UK, and it is also accepted in the US. So it's not a problem if you're applying to the US with this. So just to be sure, if you're also applying to the UK, opt for the UKVI Academic IELTS. And I've attached links for and more information on fees and preparatory material on these official websites for IELTS and TOEFL. You can just click these links and they will be you'll be able to open them. You'll be able to learn about these tests and their requirements. Now the test is divided into four parts. I mean, I'm just trying to explain the structure a little. You can find all this information on the website link I mentioned, but just to be like extremely descriptive, I'm trying to explain it. There are four modules or parts in the IELTS test. The first one is the listening module. It is a 1 hour long module. It has four sections, and in each section, one recording will be played, and based on listening to that recording, you have to answer and 40 questions. Like roughly, there are like 10 to 12 on each section. Some have less, some have more. So most of them are fill in the blank. So you just have to listen very carefully and answer the questions that you hear. And as naturally as each section rolls, the difficulty increases. So the last section you can expect to be the most difficult one. The second module is the reading module. It is also a 1 hour long module, and it has three passages, and each passage is around 7 to 8 paragraphs long. So they are long passages, and you need to answer 40 questions. There is no like set rule like this amount of questions for the first passage. And I mean, it varies test to test, so it really depends on the test, but you can expect it to be evenly distributed among the questions to be evenly distributed among the three passages. Writing, the third is the writing module, and I personally think the writing module is the most like strictly checked module. It has two sections, and it is recommended that you spend 20 minutes on the first schedule, sorry, on the first section, and 40 minutes on the second section. So in the first section, you will most likely be given something, a picture, a flow chart, or a graph, or something that you will be expected to describe or analyze. For in terms of a graph, it might be a graph of something over time, and you have to like comment on when it is increasing, when it's decreasing, something like that. I mean, these websites and the content you'll find online can explain this much better. And in the second section, it will be an argumentative essay where you'll be given a choice of a topic, and you will have to like write around 250 words on that topic. And mostly it's like you present both sides, you write an introduction, present both sides, both arguments, like for and against. And in the end, in like 90% of the topic, they do require you to give a conclusion or give your opinion on which side you think is better. And all they check is the English, and if you can comprehend and you are able to express your opinions in English while writing it. The fourth module is a speaking module. It is a shorter one. It's 10 to 15 minutes. It has three sections. In the first section, you have normal questions about yourself, like who are you, where do you come from, describe your neighborhood, things about yourself which you're comfortable talking about. In the second section, you will be given a minute to prepare, right, a topic and a minute to prepare that topic on the spot, right? And you'll be expected to give a speech lasting 1 to 2 minutes. Most of the time, the examiners are pretty nice. So if they feel like you should talk more, they indicated with their hands that you should keep on talking. And it highly depends on the topic you're given. So just speak on the topic. And in the last section, you will be asked like follow-up questions or related questions to the topic that was given to you in section 2. And as I said, much more information about this can be found on this channel that I've put in the at the bottom. Yeah, and the structure of doctoral program in the US or program in the US is pretty structured, I would say, across the board. Like any program in the US has the structure. In most cases, only a bachelor's is required. Very rare cases, they might even require a master's. And it's like a master's leading to PhD program where they expect you. It's usually like minimum 5 years long, and of those 5 years, 2 years are of coursework. And at either in the first year or at the end of second year, you're expected to give comprehensive or qualifying examinations for you to be allowed to work on research or thesis. And the last 3 years or 4 years are for your thesis work. In the US, in general, it is not like necessary to contact potential supervisors, because according to their system, you will go through coursework and you will go basically learn new math or new methods potentially, and you will be expected to then, once you realize like, okay, this is what you want to do research work in, then you're expected to choose a supervisor. So it's not always necessary. Generally, it's you come and then you select a supervisor, but it's always nice to have a preference. And mentioning, if you already have a research interest in mind and the program you're applying to hopefully has a professor or two working in that area, then it's always good to mention that you prefer to work with them in your statements that you provide them. Generally, there's no tuition, and there is a monthly stipend in the US, but that is mostly like attached to you working for them as a graduate teaching assistant, in which you're either teaching low-level math courses, or you're either assisting a teacher with the course or tutoring in some tutoring center at the campus. So uh, the stipend you get is for your services as a teaching assistant. It is very rarely you get fellowships, meaning there is no teaching commitment attached to your funding. That's very rare in the US. Mostly, I believe 90% of them will require you to teach in one way or the other. In the UK, the system is a bit different. The programs are called Center for Doctoral Training, CDTs. You can Google this word and you'll find like many well-known CDTs in the UK. Uh, you masters is, I mean, I've found that mostly masters is required or preferred, and even if it's not required, they do expect you to know at least graduate level, have graduate level math knowledge. Just an undergrad will not be sufficient. In the UK, the doctoral programs are 4 years, sometimes 3.5 years long. Within that, it has either one semester or 1 year of specialized coursework, uh, where you already have a research, preferably you already have a research interest in mind, and you have to do coursework relevant to that research interest. And then the remaining 3 years or 2.5 years are spent for completing a thesis or writing a thesis under the supervision of a faculty of a professor. In most cases, like contacting potential supervisors is preferred. You have to be able to convince a professor to take you on as a student based on the system there, because it's not as structured. It varies from place to place, and it's always nice or good if you have a potential supervisor in mind. You contact them via email and convince them to take you on as a student based on your research interests matching with their field of research. Over here, if you are able to secure a position, there is no tuition. And to my knowledge, that most programs do not have a mandatory teaching requirement, but there are opportunities where you can teach, and the financial compensation for that is most of the time separate. uh, it depends place to place. I'm just giving you like what happens in most places, so be sure to do your own research about this as well. And I've all included a site over here that mentions some well-known CDTs. You can get this site even if you just write on Google like for Centers for Doctoral Training in the UK, and you'll get this site as well. In the yeah, for finding programs or master's or PhD programs in the US is much easier because it's all structured. And I've attached this link for the American Mathematical Society, AMS, and you can just Google even AMS and write find graduate programs, and it will give you this link. And I particularly like this link because when you open this page, on the left side, there's a whole bar, a panel where you can filter your search according to your research interest, your whether you want to give the GRE or not, whether it's required or not, I mean, and whether you want financial assistance and many other filters. When you open it, you will find what it is. You can even select the states. If you have a particular state of the US in mind where you want to go, you can also filter your search according to that state. And in Pakistan, there's also the Body Education USA, which works alongside the Pakistani government and the foreign department in the US. And they work together to help graduate students get good opportunities in the US. One of them is the Fulbright Scholar Program or the PhD program. Yeah, there are many resources available at these links for program in the USA. For personal statements, this is always a very hot topic, and we mostly asked question like, what do I write in a personal statement or a statement of purpose? Honestly, the structure varies from institution to institution. The first step I would tell you to do is look at the website of the institution you're applying to. Uh, Very rarely, but it is definitely possible that on the website it's mentioned like what information the university or the department wants from you precisely. You don't have to write your whole life story. In that case, just write what is necessary or what is asked or what is mentioned on the website. In general, when you write a statement, avoid general sentences like things that are generally acceptable, because after all, it is a personal statement. So rather than saying like maths is the supreme science, it would be very good to mention just that why you like mathematics, like what is what you find interesting about mathematics, and what you can basically do with it or have done with it. It's very important that you write in paragraphs and you have a sequence in mind. A rough sequence could be to give an introduction paragraph where you introduce yourself and tell where you're from and everything. And the next could be your education, your previous education, a whole paragraph or two. If you have 2 degrees, then you can give 2 paragraphs for education. Then you must explain your research skills or interests. If you don't have any research experience, you should definitely explain what your interests are and why you're interested in that. Or if you are interested, like what particular concepts or book that you read that made you interested in this. And obviously, you have to motivate your application. Like, why are you applying to this particular program? And what your future plans are after you get the doctorate from that program. So again, I straight say that the intro paragraph is very important, and it should be like a summary on what you're going to say next. Like, for example, my name is Essen, and I'm applying to this program. I'm from Karachi, Pakistan, and I'm trying to apply to this program. And I will try to motivate my application as follows. Something along those lines. There's no exact. It's not an exact science, so you can be pretty free in that sense. Okay, yeah, focus on your relevant skills. Like for example, if you're interested particularly in a data science program, mention your programming skills. For example, yeah, because that is relevant to what the program demands from you. Any course you do in data science will have some sort of programming component, or at least most core courses will have them. So it's good to advertise yourself by saying that you have some programming skills. And after you've completely written out your statement, proofread it again and again. Have a friend sit with you, read the statement, confirm if everything is clear, if the statement is aligned with what the message you want to send to the admissions committee over there, and be as precise and be very careful with, do not try to over explain things, a very simple thing just to increase the length of the statement. Be as concise and to the point as possible. Generally, there's not a rule that you have to write 2 pages or 2 sides of a page. uh, Even a 1 page personal statement that is very well written is also good. Generally, if you want, you can keep it like 1.5 pages if you have a lot of stuff to write, but try to be concise and like to the point. Uh, Lastly, I mean, some generic deadlines. These are particularly for the US. So for the US, applications for fall semesters usually open around late August or early September, usually early September. Or by the end of September, all programs and positions are open, so you can just apply then. And deadlines are usually in either early or mid-December. And once you apply in the US, in the mid in once the deadline lapses in mid-December or December, offers are usually made around February, late February or March. And the official deadline throughout the US, and this is like throughout the US because it's so structured, you can accept an offer up until 15th April of that year. So you have the time to, if you have many offers, you have the time till 15th April to choose the one you want and then apply for it. In the UK, things are a bit different. But again, it's not that structured that I can give you like a blanket statement that this happens across the board. But generally, like in most situations or maybe half situations, you can see that the programs, the deadlines, or the applications open around November, late October, November, and they're open till January. So that is all the information I have for the UK. And yeah, that's all the information, generic information you should know when you're applying for this. Uh, and also, I also included a part because I went through the US visa process. So I've also included this as a part of the presentation. What will generally happen is once you apply and the deadline lapses in mid-December, December, you will receive an offer somewhere around February or March, hopefully. And when you get an offer and when you accept it, they will contact you within a week or so with an I-20 form. An I-20 is a certificate of immigrant status, and it basically says that you're allowed to work in the US on an F1 visa, most probably, uh, for so and so time until your degree ends. And after you get the I-20, you have to pay a SEVIS fee, CESEVIS fee, which every student has to pay to be allowed to come to the US and study. It is around 350 US dollars. After that, after you pay the service fee, you start with the DS-160 form, which is basically the student visa form that you fill online. And you have to give a lot of information. This form is pretty long, so I expect it to take you at least 2-3 days to complete this. If you have to get some information, other information as well. And once you complete that form and add the service fee and information on it as well, you will be directed to pay the visa fees. Usually the visa fees is paid at any Askari bank. I'm not, if you're in Pakistan, I'm not sure how it's in every situation, but that was my case 2 years back, sorry, a year ago. And after you pay the visa fees, you are able to schedule an interview at the embassy. Now, you don't need to worry about this because, as I said, you will accept the offer on April 15th by the latest, and you will have till 4 months up until August 15th to get your visa, that get done with this whole thing. So you have 4 months, and so it's better to start early because the later you start, the more the scheduling of interview is like difficult. You might get a late date. So start as early as possible to get your visa as soon as possible. And then once you get the visa, you have to purchase the flight as well. So be careful about that. And then after you schedule it, just go for the interview and just hope for the best. And I'm sure if there's nothing like alarming or problematic in your background, then there shouldn't be a reason why you won't get the visa. As always, for more detailed information, there is this website. You can just click on the link or just search this link and you'll get all the information you need to apply for a US F1 visa. Thank you for your time and thank you for your attention. If you have any additional questions, feel free to just reach out to me by email, and I wish you all the best with what you do. Thank you.